At our family Christmas dinner, I was told to eat in my car as my brother Ethan sneered, "Why waste a seat on you?" Every chair was taken, even by my cousin Natalie, who stole my grandmother's $2 million 0 cents necklace, so I placed a dossier exposing his lies beside his plate, said, "Check underneath," and walked out, leaving chaos in my wake as my mother's frantic calls followed me into the snowy night. I stood on the frost-covered porch of my parents' Boston mansion, my breath clouding in the December air, clutching a stack of carefully wrapped gifts in a homemade pecan pie that had taken me hours to perfect. My heart pounded, not just from the biting cold, but from a fragile, desperate hope that this Christmas might finally be different. The mansion glowed with twinkling white lights, a wreath of holly and red berries pinned to the door, and the faint croon of Bing Crosby's White Christmas drifting from inside. The scent of roasted ham and mulled wine wrapped around me, promising warmth and family. But I knew better. Behind that picture-perfect facade lay a lifetime of betrayal, a family that had never truly seen me. My name is Emily Harper, and at 34, I'm a cybersecurity expert who's outsmarted hackers and secured multi-million-dollar government contracts. But to my family, I'm still the invisible middle child, forever eclipsed by my brother Ethan, the golden boy, and my sister Chloe, the adored baby. Tonight, I'd come armed with more than gifts. I had a dossier that could unravel their lives. But as I rang the doorbell, I never imagined I'd end up fleeing for my life, chased through icy streets by a black SUV, or that the sapphire necklace worth $2 million 0 cents would spark a war that could destroy us all. The door swung open, and my mother, Diane Harper, stood there in a tailored red cashmere sweater, her pearl earrings catching the light. Her smile was polite, practiced, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Emily," she said, her voice clipped like she was checking me off a list. "You're on time." It wasn't a compliment, it was a judgment, as if punctuality was the only thing I could get right. I stepped inside, my arms heavy with gifts, the pecan pie balanced precariously on top. Of the foyer was a vision of holiday perfection. A towering spruce adorned with gold ornaments, a chandelier draped with sprigs of mistletoe, and a polished mahogany staircase that screamed old Boston money. My mother took the pie with a cursory "thank you" and vanished into the kitchen without offering to help with my coat or the gifts. I stood there, feeling like an uninvited guest in the house I grew up in, the weight of my family's indifference settling into my bones. In the living room, the scene was exactly what I'd expected and dreaded. My father Richard was clapping Chloe's fiancé Lucas on the back, laughing at some joke I hadn't heard. "That's my future son-in-law," he boomed, his voice warm in a way it never was for me. Across the room, Ethan held court with our aunts and uncles, his gestures grand, his voice carrying that effortless charm that made people hang on his every word. His wife, Sophia, stood beside him, her diamond bracelet glinting as she rested a possessive hand on his arm. Chloe, radiant in a cream-colored dress, was showing off her engagement ring to a cluster of cousins, her laughter bright and carefree. I set my gifts under the tree, their silver wrapping catching the glow of the Christmas lights, and tried to join the conversation. "Hey, Aunt Margaret," I said, approaching a group discussing a recent ski trip to Aspen. "I've been looking into eco-friendly resorts for my next vacation. Any recommendations?" Margaret glanced at me, her smile tight. "Oh, Emily, that's nice," she said, then turned back to the group. "Anyway, the lodge in Vale had the most incredible spa." The circle closed subtly, shoulders angling away from me. I stood there, my words hanging in the air, feeling like a ghost in my own family. It wasn't new. This was the rhythm of every Harper gathering. I'd spent my life trying to break into their circle, only to be met with polite nods, distracted glances, or outright dismissal. But tonight, I told myself, would be different. I had proof, hard, undeniable evidence that could finally make them see Ethan for who he really was. I was 8 years old the first time Ethan showed me how cruel he could be. I'd spent weeks building a solar-paddled car for the school science fair, gluing tiny parts together until my fingers ached. It wasn't just a project. It was my heart poured into something I believed in. The night before the fair, I found it smashed to pieces in my bedroom, wires torn out, wheels scattered like broken dreams. Ethan was there when my parents rushed in, his face a mask of fake concern. Emily got upset because it wasn't good enough. He lied smoothly. I tried to help, but she pushed me away. My tearful protests were no match for his calm delivery. My parents believed him, as they always did. That night, while I cried myself to sleep, my father helped Ethan build a new project in the garage. A sleek model rocket that won first place the next day. I showed up to the fair empty-handed, my confidence shattered, watching Ethan bask in applause that should have been mine. That was just the beginning. In middle school, Ethan spread a rumor that I'd cheated on a math test, turning my honor roll celebration into a lecture about integrity. In high school, he told my prom date I was secretly seeing someone else, leaving me dateless 3 days before the dance. At MIT, where I clawed my way to the top of my cybersecurity program, Ethan accidentally deleted my college application essay for a prestigious scholarship, claiming it was a computer glitch. When I brought home Jake, my first serious boyfriend, Ethan spun tales of my supposed mental breakdowns, painting me as unstable. Jake broke up with me a week later, unable to look me in the eye. Every milestone I fought for, Ethan undermined. And my parents, Richard and Diane, always took his side, their faith in their golden boy unshakable. Now, at 34, I was Chief Cybersecurity Officer at Nexus Solutions, a Boston tech firm that trusted me to protect sensitive government databases. I'd secured a $10 million, 0-cents contract to safeguard national security data, been featured in Wired for my innovative encryption methods, and bought a sleek downtown loft with a view of the Charles River. But at family gatherings, my achievements were barely a footnote. If I mentioned a new project, Ethan would interrupt with a story about his latest hedge fund deal. If I shared a promotion, Chloe's Instagram follower count or her wedding plans stole the spotlight. Last Thanksgiving, I'd sat through a 3-hour dinner, listening to my family gush over Ethan's new yacht and Chloe's engagement photos. My promotion to Chief Cybersecurity Officer mentioned only in passing, before my mother pivoted to Ethan's golf handicap. The deepest cut came from my cousin Natalie. We'd been like sisters growing up, sharing secrets and dreams under the stars at our grandmother Evelyn's Cape Cod cottage. But 5 years ago, when Evelyn passed, everything changed. She'd promised me her sapphire necklace, a family heirloom from Victorian England, appraised at $2 million, 0 cents, its deep blue stone set in intricate silver filigree. Evelyn used to tell me stories of how it had been passed down through generations, surviving wars and crossings from London to Boston. The day after her funeral, I went to her room to retrieve it, only to find it gone. Later that day, I saw it around Natalie's neck, glinting like a taunt. Grandma gave it to me privately, Natalie claimed when I confronted her, her eyes daring me to argue. I knew it was a lie. Evelyn had shown me her will, naming me as the necklace's heir. But my family sided with Natalie. My mother said I was grieving too hard to think clearly. My father told me not to make a scene. Every holiday since, Natalie wore that necklace, a glittering reminder of what was stolen from me. That betrayal, piled on top of Ethan's manipulations, drove me to therapy. Dr. Rachel Cohen, a specialist in family trauma, helped me see the patterns I'd normalized. Ethan's gaslighting, my parents' enabling, Natalie's betrayal. She urged me to set boundaries, maybe even skip family events until I was stronger. Sometimes, she said, her voice gentle but firm, the family we choose is more important than the one we're born into. I wasn't ready to give up, though. I couldn't shake the hope that if I could make them see me, really see me, they'd finally understand. So, for this Christmas, I'd gone all out. For my mother, I'd commissioned a designer scarf in her favorite shade of emerald. For my father, a rare first edition copy of The Maltese Falcon, his favorite mystery novel. For Chloe, a handcrafted photo book of her engagement memories. And for Ethan, something different. A sleek black box containing a dossier I'd spent years compiling, screenshots of texts where he bragged about turning our parents against me, emails where he spread lies to relatives, a recording from last Christmas where he laughed about how easy it was to make me invisible, and a copy of Evelyn's will proving the necklace was mine. I'd debated for weeks whether to bring it. Dr. Cohen warned that confronting a family this entrenched rarely worked. But I needed to try. One last stand before I walked away for good. As I stepped into the living room, the warmth of the fire did nothing to thaw the chill in my chest. Chloe gave me a quick hug, whispering, "Nice dress, but maybe don't mention work. Mom got a migraine last time you brought up your promotion." Before I could respond, Natalie swept in with her new boyfriend Caleb, introducing him with a flourish. The family swarmed them, offering drinks and asking questions, while I stood alone, my gifts untouched under the tree. Around Natalie's neck, the sapphire necklace caught the light, a silent stab to my heart. I tried again to join a conversation, this time with my Uncle David about his recent trip to London. "I've been researching sustainable travel options," I offered, forcing a smile. He nodded vaguely, then turned to Ethan, who was regaling the group with a story about a high-stakes Wall Street deal. The dismissal was so practiced, so seamless, it barely registered to anyone but me. When it was time for family photos, my mother orchestrated the scene like a director. Ethan and Sophia in the center, she called, positioning Chloe and Lucas on one side, Natalie and Caleb on the other. Aunts, uncles, and cousins filled in, their smiles bright for the camera. I stood off to the side, waiting for my place. "Mom," I said quietly, "where should I stand?" She blinked as if I'd interrupted her script. "Oh, Emily, could you take the photos? You're so good with tech." My throat tightened, but I took the camera, snapping shot after shot of my smiling family while I remained unseen. It was a metaphor for my entire life, always behind the lens, never in the picture. In the dining room, I helped set out appetizers, arranging smoked salmon crostini with more care than necessary. Ethan sauntered over, his smirk sharp as a blade. "Burgundy, huh? Bold choice for someone with your complexion," he said, loud enough for nearby relatives to hear. "Guess cybersecurity doesn't teach you fashion sense." I forced a smile, my fingers tightening around a platter. How's the hedge fund, Ethan? I heard the market's been rough. His eyes narrowed. Not for me. My portfolio's bulletproof. He leaned closer, his voice low and venomous. Heard you're in therapy now. Mom's worried about your stability. The word was a weapon, and it hit its mark. I'd confided in my mother about therapy during a rare moment of vulnerability, believing she cared. Now Ethan was using it against me, twisting my strength into weakness. I turned back to the Christini, my hands shaking, and caught Natalie across the room, touching the sapphire necklace as she laughed with Caleb. Our eyes met, and I saw a flicker of something. Guilt, maybe? Before she turned away. Then I noticed the dining table. My mother was obsessive about holiday traditions. Her heirloom Christmas china, crystal glasses, and silver place settings were non-negotiable. The table was a masterpiece, a red and gold runner, candles and silver holders, napkins folded into perfect poinsettias. Place cards in her elegant calligraphy marked each seat. I walked around, counting 10 settings, 12 people, including me. My name was missing. Mom? I called, finding her in the kitchen basting the ham. There's no place card for me. She didn't look up. Don't worry about it, Emily. Can you refill the ice bucket? Her tone was dismissive, like I was a caterer, not her daughter. My stomach twisted as I grabbed the ice, overhearing her whisper to Aunt Margaret in the hallway. I don't know why she's so sensitive, my mother said. Neither enjoys these things anyway, always sulking. Margaret hesitated. But Diane, surely there's room for one more chair, my mother sighed. Richard Pillar's back is acting up, and Ethan wanted an intimate dinner. You know how Emily can be, so intense. They stopped talking when they saw me, Margaret flushing, my mother walking away without a word. In the bathroom, I locked the door and stared at my reflection, my burgundy gown, my carefully styled auburn hair, my polished makeup. It was all armor, meant to show them the woman I'd become. But they didn't see me. They never had. I thought of the dossier under Ethan's plate, slipped there while I helped set the table. It held the truth. Texts, emails, recordings, the will. I could walk away now, preserve my dignity, or stay and fight for my place. I splashed cold water on my face, reapplied my lipstick, and made my choice. I'd see this through, no matter the cost. Dinner was called at 5:00 p.m., and the family migrated to the dining room, drinks in hand, laughter echoing. The table gleamed under the chandelier, a vision of holiday opulence. My father took his place at the head, my mother at the foot, Ethan and Sophia at his right, Chloe and Lucas, no one did. Aunt Margaret glanced at me, then quickly looked away, fussing with her napkin. Mom, I said, my voice steady despite the hammering in my chest. Where should I sit? The room fell silent. My mother paused, a spoonful of mashed potatoes hovering midair. Oh, Emily, she said, her tone light. The table's full. I thought you could eat in the car, just for tonight. The words hit like a punch, sharp and cold. I gripped the doorframe, my eyes sweeping the table. My father stared at his plate. Chloe bit her lip. Sophia looked uneasy but stayed silent. Natalie touched the necklace, then dropped her hand. And Ethan smirked. Why would we waste a seat on you? He said, his voice casual but his eyes gleaming with malice. The room tilted. I felt the tears coming but refused to let them fall. I looked at the tree where my gifts sat, including Ethan's dossier. Then I looked at the table, at the empty space where I should be, and something snapped inside me. Not pain, clarity. This wasn't a mistake. This was my family's truth, laid bare. They didn't want me. They never had. I thought of Dr. Cohen's words. The only winning move might be not to play. I straightened, my resolve hardening. I wouldn't beg for a seat at a table that had no room for me. I'd make them face the truth. And then I'd walk away. I stepped forward, the room watching as I approached Ethan's chair. I placed the black box beside his plate, the silver ribbon catching the light. "Ethan," I said, my voice calm but steel-edged, "I brought you something special." His smirk faltered, sensing a shift. "Can it wait?" my mother snapped. "No," I said, "it can't." I pointed to his plate. "Check underneath." He hesitated, then lifted the plate, revealing the cream-colored envelope I'd placed there. The silence was deafening as he opened it, his face paling as he scanned the contents. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice tight. "The truth," I said. "Screenshots of you bragging about ruining my life, emails you sent to sabotage me, a recording of you laughing about it, and Grandma Evelyn's will, proving the necklace was mine." Natalie gasped, her hand flying to the sapphire at her throat. Sophia reached for the envelope, but Ethan yanked it back. "She's lying," he snapped. "Am I?" I said. "Show them." His jaw clenched, his control slipping. "There's also a note," I added. "Read it." He pulled out the handwritten card, his eyes darkening as he read my words. "This is my last attempt to be seen. I'm done seeking your approval. I release you, and I release myself." The table erupted in whispers. My father finally spoke. "Emily, this is enough." I laughed, a bitter sound. "Enough? You've let Ethan erase me my whole life, and now you're telling me to eat in my car. This is enough." I turned to Natalie. "You knew the necklace was mine. Ethan convinced you otherwise." Her face crumpled, and she looked at Ethan. "The perfect table, the family that didn't want me." "Merry Christmas," I said. "Enjoy your dinner." I grabbed my coat and purse, walked out the door, and didn't look back. The snow was falling harder now, blanketing the world in silence. I climbed into my car, my hands shaking as I started the engine. As I pulled onto the street, headlights flared behind me, a black SUV tailing me too closely. My heart raced. I pressed the gas, weaving through the icy streets of Boston, the SUV gaining ground. Was this Ethan's doing? Had he sent someone to stop me? The SUV swerved, trying to cut me off, and I yanked the wheel, skidding onto a side street. My pulse pounded as I lost them in the maze of Back Bay, but the fear lingered. This wasn't over. The dossier, the necklace, the truth. They'd ignited something dangerous, and I was caught in the crossfire. I checked into the Beacon Hill Hotel, my hands still trembling. The receptionist, a kind paid woman named Sarah, handed me a keycard. "Room with a view," she said softly, sensing my distress. In my room, I kicked off my heels and sank onto the bed, the events of the night replaying like a nightmare. My phone buzzed. Chloe asking about the dossier, my mother demanding an apology, my father begging me to call. I turned it off. I ordered room service. Ham, potatoes, cranberry sauce, and ate by the window, watching the snow fall over the common. It wasn't the Christmas I'd imagined, but for the first time, I felt free. Free of their expectations, their lies, their rejection. The dossier was out there now, and Ethan's world was crumbling. But as I sat there, staring at the city lights, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The SUV, the necklace, the secrets. They were coming for me, and I had no idea how far they'd go. The snow fell in relentless curtains outside my room at the Beacon Hill Hotel, each flake catching the glow of Boston's streetlights before vanishing into the dark. I sat on the edge of the bed, my burgundy gown crumpled, the remnants of a room service Christmas dinner, ham, mashed potatoes, a slice of cranberry tart, congealing on a tray by the window. My phone buzzed incessantly, a chorus of texts and voicemails from my family, but I couldn't bring myself to look, not yet. The memory of Ethan's smirk, his cruel words, "Why would we waste a seat on you?" burned in my chest, sharper than the icy air I'd fled through just hours ago. I'd left the Harper mansion with my head high, the dossier of Ethan's lies exposed under his plate, but the victory felt hollow. The black SUV that chased me through the snowy streets, its headlights glaring like a predator's eyes, lingered in my mind. Was it Ethan's doing? A warning to silence me? Or something darker tied to the $2 million 0-cent sapphire necklace Natalie had stolen from me? My name is Emily Harper, and at 34, I'm a cybersecurity expert who's faced down hackers and protected national secrets. But nothing prepared me for the war my family was about to wage, a war of betrayal, sabotage, and near-fatal ambushes that would push me to the edge and force me to reclaim my place in a world that never wanted me. I finally picked up my phone, the screen lighting up with notifications. Chloe's text was first. What was in that envelope? Ethan's losing it. Are you okay? My mother's voicemail dripped with indignation. Emily, this is unacceptable. You've ruined Christmas and upset everyone. Call me immediately so we can discuss your apology to Ethan. My father's message was curt. Your mother's very upset. Please call. I deleted them all, my fingers trembling with a mix of anger and relief. Then I saw a message from Natalie, my cousin who'd worn my grandmother's sapphire necklace like a trophy for 5 years. Can we talk? Not about the necklace, about Ethan. I stared at it, my pulse quickening. Was she reaching out in guilt, or was this another trap? I typed a reply, tomorrow, 10 a.m., Brood Awakening Cafe, and hit send before I could overthink it. I turned off my phone and crawled under the hotel's crisp sheets, but sleep wouldn't come. The SUV's roar, the dossier's revelations, Ethan's pale face, they swirled in my mind, a storm I couldn't outrun. The next morning I woke to a gray dawn, the snow still falling over Boston Common. I ordered coffee and a bagel to my room, my hands steadier now. I journaled, a habit Dr. Rachel Cohen, my therapist, had encouraged. I wrote about the dinner, Ethan's cruelty, my mother's cold dismissal, and the clarity that had finally broken through. I'd never had a place at their table. The act of writing grounded me, but it also stoked a fire. I wasn't done fighting, not for their approval, but for my truth. I showered, pulled on jeans and a black sweater, and headed to the cafe, the weight of the night before pressing on my shoulders. Brood Awakening was a cozy spot in Back Bay, its windows fogged from the warmth inside. Natalie was already there, seated at a corner table, her blonde hair pulled back, her face bare of makeup. The sapphire necklace was gone, a small but seismic shift. She looked up as I approached, her eyes red-rimmed, her hands fidgeting with a napkin. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice low. I sat across from her, my guard up. "Why am I here, Natalie?" She took a deep breath, her gaze dropping to the table. "After you left, everything fell apart. Ethan tried to burn the papers, but Sophia grabbed them. She read some of it out loud, texts where he bragged about turning us against each other. Is it true he told you I said your career was a hobby until you found a husband? Nodded, the memory bitter. He said you laughed at my dress at Cousin Beth's wedding too, called me a try-hard. Natalie's eyes widened, then filled with tears. I never said that, Emily. I've always admired you, your work, your strength. I tell people my cousin's a cybersecurity genius who protects the government, and the necklace. She swallowed hard. Ethan told me you didn't want it, that Grandma changed her mind. I believed him. Her voice broke, and I saw it then. Genuine remorse, raw and unpolished. We talked for 2 hours, unraveling years of Ethan's manipulations. He'd pitted us against each other, feeding lies to keep us divided. Natalie revealed that after I left, Sophia had confronted Ethan about other texts in the dossier. Messages to a woman named Vanessa, proof of an affair. The dinner had imploded, with Ethan storming out, Sophia following in tears. Then Natalie slid a small velvet box across the table. I opened it, and there it was, Grandma Evelyn's sapphire necklace, its deep blue stone catching the cafe's soft light. It was always yours, she said quietly. I'm so sorry it took me this long. I closed the box, my throat tight. Thank you, I said, meaning it. As we parted, Natalie hugged me, a tentative bridge toward rebuilding what Ethan had broken. But as I walked back to my car, the necklace heavy in my purse, I couldn't shake a new unease. Ethan's affair, the SUV chase, Natalie's sudden change of heart. What else was he hiding? That afternoon, my world tilted further. I checked my work email, expecting routine updates, and found an urgent message from my boss, Claire Nguyen. Cyber attack detected on Nexus servers, traced to an IP linked to Harper Capital, Ethan's firm. Board meeting tomorrow, 8 a.m. Explain this or your job's on the line. My stomach dropped. Ethan's hedge fund, Harper Capital, was behind a breach that threatened classified government data I was responsible for protecting. The timing wasn't a coincidence. This was retaliation for the dossier, a calculated strike to destroy my career. I spent the night in my hotel room combing through server logs, my heart racing. The attack was sophisticated, designed to frame me as incompetent or worse, complicit. I had 48 hours to prove my innocence or I'd lose everything I'd built. The next morning, I walked into the Nexus boardroom, my nerves steeled despite the sleepless night. Claire and the board stared me down, their faces grim. Emily, Claire said, this breach could cost us our government contract. Why is it coming from your brother's firm? I laid out the evidence. The dossier, Ethan's. I need time to trace the attack's origin. Claire gave me 48 hours, her tone cold. As I laughed, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Retract your lies about Ethan or you're out of the family trust. We won't support your vendetta. The ultimatum hit like a slap. The Harper Trust was worth millions, my financial safety net. Losing it would mean starting from scratch. But bowing to my mother meant betraying myself. I ignored the text, my resolve hardening. That evening, I attended a tech gala at the Boston Public Library, a glittering event where I was set to receive an award for my encryption work. I wore a sleek black gown, the sapphire necklace hidden in my clutch for safekeeping. I needed to project strength despite the chaos, but as I accepted my award, Ethan appeared, striding to the podium uninvited. Emily's too modest to mention, he said, his voice smooth but venomous. That Nexus is under investigation for a data leak, her department's failure. The crowd gasped, cameras flashing. My face burned, but I stepped to the mic. "My brother's mistaken," I said, my voice steady. "Nexus is secure, and I'm handling a targeted attack, possibly from his firm." The room buzzed, reporters scrambling. Ethan's smile was a knife, but I'd fought back on live TV, refusing to let him bury me. Back at my loft, I found the door ajar, the lock jimmied. My heart pounded as I stepped inside, finding chaos. Drawers emptied, papers strewn, my laptop open but untouched. On my desk was a note in sharp black ink. "Drop the dossier, or you're next." The papers about the necklace, copies of Eveline's will, appraisals, were gone. I called the police, but they found no prints, no leads. I suspected Ethan, or someone he'd hired, but proving it was another matter. I installed new locks, set up cameras, and moved the necklace to a safe deposit box. But sleep was impossible. The SUV chase, the cyber attack, the break-in, they were escalating, closing in. 2 days later, while jogging along the Charles River at dawn, I felt a sudden shove from behind. I stumbled, my feet slipping on the icy path, and plunged into the freezing water. The shock stole my breath, the current dragging me under. I clawed my way to the surface, gasping, and hauled myself onto the bank, shivering uncontrollably. A figure in a dark hoodie vanished into the trees. Too fast to identify, Natalie's face flashed in my mind. Her guilt over the necklace, her new boyfriend Caleb's guarded demeanor. Had she betrayed me again? I filed a report, but with no witnesses. The police dismissed it as an accident. Dr. Cohen's warning echoed, "Ethan's volatile. Be careful." I started carrying pepper spray, checking my surroundings obsessively, the fear a constant shadow. Meanwhile, the cyber attack intensified. I traced it to a server in Ethan's firm, but the trail ended at a burner account, untraceable. I worked around the clock, my eyes burning, knowing national security and my career hung in the balance. Then came another blow. A tabloid contacted me, claiming they had Ethan's recording from the dossier, the one where he gloated about ruining me. They'd publish it, unless I paid $100,000. 0 cents, threatening to spin it as proof of my family vendetta, tainting my reputation. I refused, but the risk of public exposure gnawed at me. Would the truth clear my name, or make me a pariah? Amid the chaos, Natalie reached out again, insisting we meet. I chose a public park, wary but curious. She looked haunted, her eyes darting. "Ethan called me," she whispered. "He said if I don't help him discredit you, he'll expose my past, things I did in college, mistakes I buried." Her voice trembled. "He's desperate, Emily. He's not just after you. He's protecting something bigger." I pressed her, but she clammed up, promising to dig into Ethan's secrets. Her warning lingered. "If you expose the necklace, I'll have to fight back." Was she an ally or a threat? I couldn't tell, but her words hinted at a deeper conspiracy, something tied to Ethan's firm, the necklace, maybe even the SUV. Chloe called that night, her voice hesitant. "Ethan and Sophia are done," she said. She found more texts, not just Vanessa, but others. "It's a mess." I should have spoken up at dinner, Emily. When Mom said to eat in the car, I knew it was wrong. I let her words hang, not offering absolution. "Can we meet?" she asked. "I want to be a better sister." I agreed to coffee, setting boundaries. No contact with Ethan or Mom. My father texted next, a shift from his earlier pleas. "I've been thinking. I failed you. letting Ethan run the show. Can we talk? I wasn't ready, but his words cracked something open, a flicker of hope, fragile but real. The breakthrough came a week later. I cracked the cyber attack's code, finding a backdoor Ethan's firm had exploited. I presented it to Claire, who reinstated my position, but the damage was done. Clients were wary, my reputation bruised. That night, I met my father at a quiet diner. He looked older, his shoulders slumped. "I enabled Ethan," he said, his voice rough. "It was easier than fighting him or your mother." "I'm sorry, Emily." I squeezed his hand, tears prickling. "Thank you," I said. It wasn't healing, not yet, but it was a start. By February, I was rebuilding. I redecorated my loft in bold blues and golds, a rebellion against the muted tones I'd once chosen to please my family. I started dating Liam, an environmental engineer who saw me, really saw me, without judgment. Therapy with Dr. Cohen helped me untangle forgiveness from reconciliation, choosing self-protection over toxic ties. I wore Evelyn's necklace on special days, its sapphire a reminder of my strength, not my pain. 6 months later, on the 4th of July, I hosted a party at my loft. Chloe was there, our bond tentative but growing. My father brought a bottle of wine, his presence a quiet amends. Natalie came, her eyes clear, our trust slowly mending. Liam grilled burgers on the balcony, his laughter warm. My mother and Ethan weren't invited, their absence a boundary I held firm. As fireworks lit the Boston sky, I stood with my chosen family, the necklace cool against my skin. I'd faced Ethan's lies, survived his attacks, and built a table where I belonged. The war wasn't over. Ethan's shadow loomed, his secrets untold, but I was no longer the girl begging for a seat. I was Emily Harper, and I'd claimed my place, no matter the cost.